Abhay Mehra had once been the name on every billboard in town. A national-level marathon runner. He'd broken records, collected medals, and inspired a generation with his grit and dedication. But now, a broken leg and a year of painful recovery later, Abhay found himself sitting alone in his small apartment, staring at a dusty pair of running shoes in the corner. The accident hadn't just shattered his bones, it had crushed his spirit. Everyone said he wouldn't run again. The doctors were hopeful but cautious. His sponsors disappeared. Even his closest friends stopped checking in after a while. Each day became harder to face than the last. Abhay would wake up, make coffee, stare at the empty wall, and wonder if this was it. Was he just a former athlete now? A man with a past too painful to relive and a future too foggy to chase? But something stirred in him when he received a letter one rainy afternoon. It was a simple, handwritten note. Dear Abhay, you may not remember me, but I watched you run when I was 10. I was fighting cancer then, and I wanted to give up, but seeing you run, so full of life and passion, gave me hope. I'm 16 now, and I beat it. I still run because you inspired me to start. Please, don't stop being the light for others. Ria. Tears welled up in Abhay's eyes. A complete stranger had held on because of him. Maybe, just maybe, he still mattered. That night, for the first time in months, Abhay tied his shoelaces. Not to run, but to stand, just stand. His legs trembled, but his soul didn't. It was slow, painful, embarrassing even. Every step on the treadmill felt like lifting a mountain. Abhay could barely walk 5 minutes before collapsing onto the bench, sweat drenching his face. But every day, he returned. Each morning, he greeted his reflection with a single promise: one step more. He started recording small vlogs, talking to himself and whoever cared to watch. Surprisingly, people did. Comments started pouring in. My dad watches your journey every night. You're his inspiration. I cried watching you walk that extra minute. Thank you for showing it's okay to fall. Abhay didn't see it then, but he was running again, not physically, but emotionally, towards purpose, towards healing. Weeks turned into months. The limp was still there, but so was the fire. Then came the invitation. A charity run, 5 kilometers, open for all. He hesitated. What if he failed? What if people laughed? But then, he saw Ria's letter again. He registered. The day arrived, crisp and cold. Crowds gathered, runners stretched, cameras flashed, and there stood Abhay, dressed in a simple white tee that read, one step more. As the starting gun fired, he didn't run. He walked. People ran past him, but Abhay smiled. He was there. He was moving. At the 3 km mark, his knee screamed in pain. But louder than that scream was the cheer from a little girl on the sidelines holding a banner. Go Abhay uncle, you're our hero. Tears blurred his vision. He didn't stop. When he crossed the finish line, nearly an hour later, the crowd erupted. Not because he won, but because he finished. Because he kept the promise he made to himself. The story went viral. News channels aired his journey. Interviews followed. But more than fame, Abhay found purpose. He launched a foundation, One Step More, aimed at helping injured athletes, patients, and dreamers find their feet again. He began visiting hospitals, talking to those who felt lost. He coached teenagers in underprivileged areas, showing them the power of discipline, kindness, and resilience. One day, while speaking at a school, a small hand rose from the back. It was Ria, now confident, smiling, and strong. You showed me the way once, Abhay sir. Now, I want to do the same for others. They hugged. In that moment, he realized something. Winning medals had made him famous, but standing up after the fall, that made him unforgettable. Moral: The journey to rise again starts with a single step. You may fall, you may break, but you are never too broken to begin again. Every act of courage, no matter how small, becomes a light for someone else lost in the dark. Never stop walking, never stop trying, because sometimes your climb becomes someone else's wings.